14th of November?
8:13.
Or 8:13, man. These time zones get me. All right. Press and public have duly notified. I'm going to ask everybody to rise for an invocation and pledge of allegiance. Let us bow our heads. Oh, Heavenly Father, we ask for your direction as we conduct the city's business tonight. We thank you for allowing us to be stewards of your island. We cherish it in everything we do. As we enter the Thanksgiving season, we give thanks to you for all that we have, particularly our families, our friends, and our neighbors. And we ask that you bless them all. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Marie, call the roll.
Councilmember Bergler.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Lofton.
Yo.
Councilmember Stone.
Present.
Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Ward.
What about Thomas's?
Thomas is here.
Okay.
Mayor Cronin.
Present.
Administrator Tucker.
Here.
And Attorney Albert. Here.
All right, thank you. Previous meeting minutes are in your package. May I have a motion to approve October 22nd?
So moved. Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion, additions, deletions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Public citizens' comments. I know I have one. Diane O'Torek would like to speak to us.
Yeah.
Diane O'Torek, 15 Ocean Park Court. I'm here tonight to make a comment about the loan closet. The loan closet has now been active, very active, for the last 7 months. This body approved the existence of that just about a year ago, but it took some time to get through committees and also to acquire the medical devices that we stock there. We call it a loan closet, but that really is a euphemism because it's a corner. It's 40 by 60 inches, and we stuff 12 to 14 medical assistance devices there. I want to publicly thank the early supporters on council for this, as well as City Administrator Linda Tucker, who was the first person I spoke to about this, and then Mayor Cronin and Councilman Loftus and Councilwoman Bergdorf, and late to the table, Councilman Battelli, but he came to the table finally. And we have, year-to-date, loaned out 13 medical assistance devices. Now, that little 40 by 60-inch corner in the bay of the fire department, in the medical supplies room, I managed to get in there about 12 to 14 devices: wheelchairs, various kinds of walkers, standalone potty chairs, crutches. Am I missing anything? My able assistant who moves this stuff about is sitting in the back of the room. That would be my husband, because I can't move that stuff around. I can't believe how successful this is. And what I want to say to council is that you were very smart to recognize that you would be a unique community, because I don't know any other community nearby that does this sort of thing. And I just want to thank you for your support and tell you that this is a very, I thought it would be something that would be used by visitors. I originally thought this would be something in an emergency situation for visitors to our island. But the truth is, it's the residents that use it, 95%. So I think it's a very, very smart thing that you have done. I'm very happy to be the coordinator of it, as long as I have my able assistant, and as long as my health allows me to move my able assistant, I will be happy to be the coordinator. So I just want to thank you for that. And I also want to say very quickly that I talked to the director of the Lutheran Retreat Center today, Larry Hamrick. As you know, the young woman, Kenzie Jones, that was here in May, had raised all this money to purchase a handicapped wheelchair, beach access wheelchair. And I called him today to find out how active the use of that wheelchair is. And he says, we have It was very, very busy. It's slowed down now. He said, but just last week there was a wedding on the beach and we needed to use it. We couldn't find a place here to house that big of a, of a medical assistance device. So happily, the Lutheran Retreat Center was willing to do that. It's right there by the beach access at 21st. So it was a very good solution, and it was in the middle of the island, and I think it was a very good solution where to put that. And I wanted you to know that it is very actively used. And I just thank you for allowing me to go forward with this lone corner / closet. I appreciate it, and I want to publicly thank Anne for her support of this. And I find different ways to thank them, and Jason here. And if everybody plays their cards right, they might get a carrot cake.
All right,
But
thank
it
you.
depends on how you behave. Thank you. Any questions?
All right.
No.
No, we all.
Good job tonight.
All right, we have one other item we're going to talk to under citizens' comments, but is there anybody else like to address us at this moment? Okay, we have with us Stephen Trainum from Coastal Science and Engineering. Apparently, here he is already. He's ready to go. There was a lot of discussion at the Real Property Committee and what to do with the focused erosion projects now or in the future, so
All right.
you're going to tell all of council what you told Real Property, I gather.
Okay. I think right the day before Real Property, we got the permit modification that we were seeking to allow for a total of 4 sand scraping events up at the northeast end. So that's in hand now, and that'll run through 2017, basically through April 2017. So the idea was that when we got that modification, it'll allow us to move forward with a project this winter to alleviate some of the erosion that's occurring up near the Ocean Club, Seascape, and the 18th hole. While we were applying for that permit, we weren't anticipating those properties putting in sandbags, which they've done since then. So it's kind of changed the thinking a little bit up there now. We have a couple of there's a couple of issues. The major issue is that there's still not enough sand on the beach to do a large-scale project that would guarantee, that there would be a protective beach there throughout the whole summer season until next winter, when another project could be done again, outside of turtle nesting season. The sandbags up there now, the feeling from the stakeholders who have those is that they're permitted through the end of the year, but they feel fairly confident that they can get extensions to those permits to allow the sandbags to remain in place as long as that erosion threat is still there. So council has an option of pursuing a project this winter which would move a quantity of sand on the order of 80,000 yards, which is a little bit less than what we did in 2012. Obviously, that project didn't last throughout the whole summer. By the fall, all that sand had already eroded away, and you were in a worse condition than when the project started. If we did do that project, then it would have a potential of forcing those properties to remove the sandbags, because OCRM would most likely not allow us to place sand in front of them or over them, so they would have to remove the sandbags, which would leave you with a situation that in the end of the summer, that sand might erode and you were right back to where we started, but then those properties would either have to put back in sandbags, depending on the scheduling, when that erosion might reach that point. You might have enough time to do a project, or it might be before the window starts to do another project. So it will leave a vulnerable situation for those properties. And I've spoke with both of them, with Beth Colley and Jeff Minton, and they are under the, they feel like they would rather just have the sandbags and not necessarily go ahead with a small-scale project this winter. As it stands right now, and that as the erosion has been the past couple of months, they feel like that's the better alternative than removing the sandbags and hoping that the sand that we do a project would last. I tend to agree with that. I feel like if we did a small scale project right now, we'd be providing a beach, and by right now I mean sometime before the 1st of May of 2014. we could do a project anytime up till then. But even if we did a project in May, there's still a chance that over that summer season, that sand could erode. So I tend to feel that it's in the best interest to wait and kind of take advantage of those sandbags and the protection they're offering for as long as possible, even though it does leave kind of a lack of beach in that very small reach right there in front of Ocean Club in the 18th hole. The other option, like I said, the one option is to do the project. The other option is obviously not to, which not doing a project would allow time for the beach to continue to build out behind the shoals that's coming on shore. And I'm saving you from doing slides and showing the animation and everything that I always do. But over the next several months and over the next summer, that shoal's going to get, it's either going to be attached or very close to attaching. So by this time next year, the sand will be either close enough where we can harvest that sand that's out there in the shoal and be able to spread it out on the beach to make a nice straight beach like we want to do a large-scale project to kind of really fix everything, or there'll be enough of a beach built up behind the shoal that we can harvest that sand, and the shoal will be close enough that it'll attach and spread, and we're fairly confident that by this time next year we'll have a better solution for kind of a longer-term fix rather than a small-scale project that might last for a couple of months. And all this kind of started because we knew that the holidays were coming up, and we wanted to at least have a plan on whether we needed to move forward as far as coming up with a plan and bids and things like that if we needed to do that. So I'll leave it at that and then kind of open it up to questions to save time here.
What would we have to do to have a plan for 2015?
For 2015, I mean, right now we're scheduled to do another survey next July in the summer. That could offer a kind of a preliminary design as far as our engineering work. Basically, all you have to do is have a final design. If it has to go back out for bids, we'd have to just kind of update the bid package with new dates, new limits of the fill, but pretty minor changes. So maybe a little bit of survey work as far as just delineating where the bar area would be. But it'd be a pretty quick turnaround on our part. I think within maybe 2 to 3 weeks worth of total time as far as from start to finish, and not that much as far as billable time.
And you think there'd be enough sand that has either attached or we can go get near enough that we can mechanically go get it, that we can do it economically and have a more lasting impact?
Right, because by that time next year, if the shoal's not attached, it'll be close enough where we're not trying to we're not trying to protect over a 10 to 12 or 15-month window. We're trying to protect over a couple of month window as it is finally going to attach. And all this is
And I think I read you said it's at least in minutes say it's within 600 feet of attaching or the primary shoal, or
it was in July. It was within 600 feet.
So it could be closer now.
And it moved 600 feet the previous year. There's a chance it could slow down as it gets closer, but the beach also builds up behind it, which kind of speeds it up.
The connect.
That effect. So there's a lot of processes that could tweak that rate, but that's why I feel pretty confident that if it's not attached, it's going to be very close to being attached, and the salient behind it will be pretty extensive.
And we're not talking about dredging, and we're talking about just mechanically going and lifting
Correct.
it and
Correct.
trucking it. Other questions? Anyone else? I think we need to have a plan to do that. And whether we have to structure your monitoring in 2000, I'm losing track of dates, 2014 summer to accomplish what you need to get the engineering done, et cetera, so that we have a formal plan to go forward, not just a hope and a prayer. We have significant sum of money to but maybe not enough to do a big project, so we need to get all the stakeholders in a room and sit them down and share all this.
We're still in the process of putting together the report from this past monitoring event, and we can address some of those needs and kind of what we need to do to start planning in that. And I'm really starting to, I've had to handle a couple other things, but this month I plan to really probably get that out within another month from now. So
by the first of the year?
by the first of the year, I have a great recommendation on how we need to go forward. As far as, I mean, like I said, it's not going to take a whole lot of work on our end as far as coming up with the design. I mean, it's basically, you know, picking where we want to start, where we want to finish, and how much we want to move. And it's more of the time that council needs to go through the contract and you know, awarding a bid and things like that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Please, Chairman.
quick question. Steve, the amount of sand that you see on that show off there and are mechanically moving it from point A to point B, it's still going to be there where it's going to, as it hopefully not roads too fast to the roads, it's going to come further south. I mean, we're not taking sand from people further down the beach.
Right. Eventually, it's all going to move south.
Right.
Now, as those shoals come on shore, part of it, you can say maybe kind of just splits in half, and half of it starts moving south, half of it moves to the north, and then gets back in the inlet and comes back in the delta and recycles itself. So there's a net deficit to the north end. There's a net surplus to the south, which is why the south end has been historically accretional. So we're just basically speeding up the process and kind of putting the sand where we want it a little bit more, understanding that in another 5 years or 10 years the cycle is going to repeat and we might have to be, you know, back in a similar situation. There's not a long-term fix, unfortunately, without, you know, looking at structures which still aren't a good long-term fix in this particular setting.
Okay. Other questions, concerns?
And
Thank you.
just real quick, I do also want to mention we did a quarterly survey at Breach Inlet in October. I've processed that data. I've written a draft of the report, and I'll have it out this week. But it's been stable since July. Between July and October, it actually gained about 30,000 cubic yards around that area. So there was only one station around 7th Avenue that showed any kind of dune recession. The rest of it was very stable, so that's a good sign.
Well, that's good news.
Yes, it's good news.
We'll be able to sleep tonight.
Safe trip home.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Steve.
No other citizens' comment. We'll move on to reports from committees. We'll spend 2 hours now going through the Ways and Means Committee report. I'll try and render that quickly. Many of you were here for the entire committee. Current financial condition is such that our revenues are ahead of prior year. We're running 109% of where we were last year. 16% of budget has been collected on our expenditure side against 4 months, which would be 33% of budget expenditures in the general fund. We're running at 29% year-to-date, so we're running below expenditures on the general fund. Our tourism-related activities are we learned of an adjustment being made with the October from the municipal accommodations, and we'll be running year-to-date at 8% above budget on that account. We are significantly ahead on the state account, but we don't have the details for that yet, and that is yet to come, so we hope that sticks and that they don't make an adjustment to correct that. And on the hospitality tax, again, that's running 9% ahead of prior year, and all folks are current, so that's good news. We moved on to consider a whole bunch of other proposals, one of which was the hiring of 3 additional firefighters for Station 2. That action did not pass. It was most likely going to be addressed at the next budgeting cycle, which will start shortly after the first of the year. We did consider an increase in the salary range of firefighters effective December 1st of 10%. I'll make that as a motion here.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion on that?
What's the difference between A and B? If A did not pass...
That's the 3 firemen.
Right, I understand that, but what, the parliamentary procedure here? You said it did not pass. This one did not pass also, correct?
It did pass.
It did
pass.
It did pass?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it was 5-4 the other way?
Correct.
Sorry, my mistake.
Okay. So, we have a motion and second, and any other discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
We have 3, 1, 2, 3,
Who's 3?
3 no. In Rutland.
Bookends.
So the vote changed?
No, it's still passed.
It was 6-3? 4-5, it did change.
Okay, consideration of an increase in merit pool of 6% effective January 1st. I'll make that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded.
Did we skip
Excuse me, that did
No,
not
we
pass.
just did B.
We just voted on
We
it.
just did that.
It changed, if it was
Was
6.
D passed?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, C.
All right, we have
You don't do well after 2.5
a
hours.
motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
1, 2, 3, 4. No.
No, you voted for it
The
last
same vote as it was last time.
Straight here.
Doug is the fourth.
Oh, got it.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'd like just to, on item B, I know it's been a long night. The vote, is it 6-3 in full council, correct? But it's 5-4 in the affirmative in the committee, is that right?
That's correct.
Give me a second, we gotta look back.
But that's correct.
That's right. No, 6-3 and 6-3 and it was 5-3.
There are
First
9
one
of
failed,
us.
the
We
next
only
two
have
passed.
9 votes.
We're done.
It should have been 5-4. Did not pass. This passed. and then
First
this
one
was-
failed 5-4. No, the second one passed. This was yes.
That's correct.
Third one passed 5-4.
But tonight, the second one passed 6-3.
Right.
Just for, can we have a show?
It's not so wide. I'd just like to
No,
know.
we're already done.
Excuse me?
We're done.
First vote was 4-5.
Correct.
And in favor of the nay.
Yeah, correct.
The second one on 10% was 6-3 in favor.
It was.
It was. And it
Okay,
was 6-3 again
Okay.
Okay,
in council.
correct.
all right.
Okay, I got
And then
that.
the last one
The first one and
was
third one.
again 5-4
5-4, but
in the negative. No, in positive.
And the positive.
Positive.
right. The first one and the third one were in roll call votes.
Correct, that's why.
Right.
And,
Okay.
so we just passed
Right.
C. Okay, thank you very much.
We're up to D. Allowing hurricane reentry stickers and Wild Dunes decal to serve as free parking passes for Front Beach kiosks was not approved. What we amended the motion to read that it would be free parking. You read it. You have your notes.
Allowing hurricane reentry stickers and Wild Dunes decals to serve as free parking passes at the municipal parking lots between 6 and 8 p.m. during beach season, and also ask the administrator to get with the operator of the parking lots to convey that information to him
Determined, right.
And then the
and amend the contract.
Okay, motion and seconded. I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
1 no. Award of a contract to Vic Bailey Ford, budgeted purchase of one Ford utility SUV in the amount of $26,412, state contract price. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. Award of a contract to Love Chevrolet in the budgeted purchase of one Chevy Impala in the amount of $20,332. Again, state contract price. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. Motion carries. Award of a contract to Motorola in the budgeted purchase of 2 digital vehicular repeaters with APX 6500 mobile radios at a state contract price of $30,449.44. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Motion is seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Motion carries. Award of a contract to Stantec for Phase 3 and 4 of Wayfinding Signs Initiative in the amount of $15,790. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
And second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. All right. Recommendation, real property, award change of scope, contract, Ocean Coastal Consultants, the rehabilitation of tidal wave water sports dock, in consideration of utilizing balance of engineering scope for the Marina redevelopment plan in the amount of $7,200, I think it was, $7,250. I'll make that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
1 no. Motion carries. Recommendation, Public Works, award of a contract to Kelly Messier in the amount of not to exceed $3,000 to develop landscaping design for the Public Works site to come in compliance with NPDES.
And there was
And
an amendment
amended
to fund out of the 140,000.
to be funded out of the county.
144, Linda, could you help me? I forget
It's
the
140,000 and
balance and
the line. I can look it up, but Marie's got it.
Stormwater improvement design and construction.
Yes.
Whatever I said 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
whatever.
Would you say, Ryan?
Whatever they said.
Under the stormwater design
That's
construction
correct.
budget.
Okay.
Right, that's the amendment.
Okay. All right, that was the motion and seconded. Did you second?
Second, I did.
Somebody has to. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Authorize the city administrator to send a letter to the DOT to indicating city will assume maintenance for Phase 2 drainage improvements.
I so moved.
All right, I'll second that. This is similar to what we did on Phase 1, so. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Award of contract to Jones Ford, $27,866, state contract price for one Ford F-150. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor? Whoops.
Question.
Yes.
What department is this out of?
Public Works.
Public Works.
All right.
No other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Whew. I'm trying to think if we did anything else. No, not really. That was enough. All right, let's move on to Public Safety Committee report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief, as we've discussed most of this in the previous two meetings. We met on Monday, November 11th. Under old business, we discussed fire department staffing. And under citizens' comments, I wanted to recognize our thanks to all of the city employees that are veterans. I know we've got a lot that are in our ranks here, and it was Veterans Day, so I did that little blurb. See if I can turn these pages fast enough. We discussed extending the parking lot and kiosk hours. We've acted on that in another meeting. Discussed the Stantec contract. We've taken care of that. We discussed the consideration of the transportation sales tax funds, which it will be coming in later. No, that is mine. I'm sorry.
That's you.
Since this came up pretty quick, it came to the Public Safety Committee. Generally, it goes to maybe one or two other committees. Timing didn't hit us right this year. Submissions have to be in by January 1st. So our recommendation is that we repeat the 2014 transportation sales tax request for and that would be for Phase 2 drainage and regulation bike pass. And Linda, I'm going to have to ask you, I believe something came out to where we cannot do the work on the sidewalk now?
Well, it's not that we cannot. The committee's thoughts were that we'd submit a third project that would involve extending the sidewalk in the vicinity of what used to be the Island Time shop, because there's not a tenant in that shop at this time, and the discussion of possibly doing that had come up at another time. However, since the Public Safety Committee meeting, we have spoken to the person who has the lease on that property, and they did indicate that they would be strongly opposed to the extension of the sidewalk, because no matter how we do it, even as creative as possible, it would do away with all of the parking that is in front of that particular building. And apparently there is a prospective business to go in there that's being considered, and so they would very much like to have that parking. So, you know, based on that, we would have a kind of a fight on our hands with the person who's leasing the property. We didn't take it any further to the owner of the property because we suspected that if the individual leasing the property was opposed to it, the owner would likely be opposed to it as well. So I think it's probably best to drop it for now.
Okay, I won't include that. So it would be request Phase 2 drainage and regulation bike paths.
So, motion,
Motion.
and I'll second it. This is really basically repeating what we submitted to TST last year.
Correct.
So, any further discussion?
One quick question,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor. The sidewalk down there, it stops in the middle of nowhere, and the parking in front of the old Island Times is paved. So why can't we take the sidewalk at least up to the pavement? Would that not affect?
It would. It would create more problems.
It would.
I'm not sure why this was in public safety because it came through Public Works.
It was only
Yeah.
because we were
Okay.
looking for
Yeah.
TFC
Okay,
money.
it's funny.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We had, and when it came up, and first of all in Public Works, we decided at that time not to move forward with it.
Right.
I forgot, that was months ago.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carries.
We discussed this possible solution to vehicles turning around on 46th Avenue. GPS is turning people towards the ocean instead of the other way. I believe we've heard from Stantec that a sign is being prepared as we speak that will go up to direct folks in the other direction. And Wild Dunes, from now on, will be using their address as #1 Sundial Circle, which will take traffic to the left into Wild Dunes. We discussed the awards of the contracts for the vehicles and radios, which we passed earlier. Fire Department report, Chief Graham gave. The personnel responded to a variety of calls in October. Personnel responded to 50 calls in the month, 29 of which were EMS calls. For the month of October, and we're tracking this, the average response time for EMS calls was 11 and a half minutes between the fire department and EMS arrival on the scene. That's pretty darn good because they're over there, we're here. That's why we have EMTs as on our fire trucks as first responders. 5 fire inspections were performed, 12 violations found. There's a total of 1,759 hours of training. We talked about the transition to consolidated dispatch. Overall, it's going very well. In talking to Chief Graham and Chief Buchanan, there were a few hiccups which they were able to smooth out right away, and we're moving on. And Administrator Tucker stated that we're working with the consolidated dispatch and hope to have a couple of dedicated channels for the Isle of Palms in the future. One of the things that has been discovered is that we're monitoring the main channel. When they have a fire incident, they're assigning an incident channel, which compounds the listening that the person in charge on scene has to do. Because one person's got to be listening to the command channel, while at the same time either that person or someone else needs to be listening to the primary channel to see if any other calls are coming in. So they're working on that. We're going to try and track how many calls are coming into the dispatch center that are being handled over to consolidated dispatch, because we still get a small number of calls. And the mayor indicated he'd be interested in knowing how often the city's dispatchers have to intervene to clarify an issue on the call. And Chief Buchanan at that point indicated there were more instances of intervention in the first 2 weeks of the transition than there are now. So it's, again, things are smoothing out. Police Department report. Hate to say it, but Chief Buchanan said this is the time of the year the department deals with more domestic issues, and we had a couple of incidences. They have a meet and greet scheduled for November 7th at Beachside Community. In October, dispatchers responded to 4,568 calls. 3,288 were for the Isle of Palms Police Department. Of these 639 traffic stops, 148 folks received tickets. And Chief noted traffic collisions are down by 34% this year from last year. 15 arrests were made in the month, 7 were for traffic offenses. In October, 24 noise complaints were received and 1 citation was written. And at that time, we had 2 officers attending the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. And the mayor commented that they found a deer that had been shot in his neighbor's yard. And again, it is illegal to discharge firearms on the Isle of Palms. The CALEA recertification will begin December 13th to 18th. And I shouldn't say it that way. I should say their team will be on the island. This is a constant thing that our police department works on, and it's great to know that we have a police department that's nationally certified. And they'll be talking to more council members and members of the community. We ended the meeting, and the next meeting will be next month. In fact, it will be, I'm sorry,
January.
in January.
It'll be on a calendar.
It'll be on January 13th. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for public safety? All right, let's move on. Public Works, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The committee met Wednesday, November 6th. All committee members were present. Under new business, we discussed the report and award of the NPDES compliance improvements at Public Works. Last fiscal year, the city was found to be out of compliance with NPDES regulations at the Public Works site relative to washing off our garbage trucks and apparatuses and the subsequent runoff that was coming off. Funds that are paid to Charleston County by all Isle of Palms residents go to the stormwater management fee and can be used for such uses. Director Pitts and Kerr and Mr. Desai from Charleston County are working together to devise a plan to correct the compliance issues and look for configuration of the site to ensure that the site is maximized. We had some more discussion on that. That led to Director Pitts stating the next step is get a landscape architect to try to utilize that area, that postage stamp area that we have in the best use it can. That's when we move forward to allow the expenditure of $3,000 to Keller Messier. Under old business, we had the update on the sinkhole in Seahorse Court. Mr. Desai said he had some of his county road inspectors look for their opinion, and they'd surmised that some organic form had not been properly mucked out before the sub-base was put in, causing it to sink. So they're going to go in there and saw cut the area, remove the bad material, repair it with at least another 4 inches of asphalt. And they'll be sending a work order to the field operations in Charleston County for those repairs to get done. Under department reports, maintenance, a lot of it. Had general maintenance issues, overhanging the bicycle path, waterway, beach path, clearing the growth along palm trees at intersections, and in addition, Charleston County cleaned some of the stormwater system along Sparrow and Duck Lane. Under old business, we had consideration of amendment to our code to require landscape contractors to move their yard debris. We have a lot of what we anticipate or surmise is a lot of landscapers who are doing work throughout the Charleston area are doing the work there, landscaping, bring their debris here and dumping it. Whether we need to amend our code or go through and reread our code to see, just double check it. So we haven't made any action on it. We're just going to dip into our law a little bit deeper, see what we have available to us. Under new business, we authorization of the city to write SCDOT indicating that we will maintain Phase 2 drainage programs. And then contracts of excess of $10,000 was the new pickup truck. And that was the end of our meeting. Our next meeting is January 14th.
Excellent. Any questions for Public Works? Recreation, please.
The Recreation Committee met November 4th, 4 p.m. with all members present. As usual, the Rec Department is super busy, so we'll just hit some highlights. The Ghostly Tide Tales, held on the 25th of October on the beach, had approximately 325 people attending. And Director Page voiced her appreciation to the police department for their assistance with pedestrian and traffic control before and after the event. Coming up, the next middle school dance is this Friday, the 22nd, so if you're brave, you might want to go over there with the 6th and 7th graders. The Isle of Palms Community Wellness Fair attracted 52 employees, over 200 residents. 33 employees got flu shots, 48 had free blood work done at East Cooper. At another event, Director Page reported that approximately 900 children enjoyed the festivities at the Halloween Festival. The Exchange Club generously sold concessions, and the Citadel Cadets assisted with games and distributed candy. Upcoming events, of course, are Holiday Craft Workshop for ornaments and Santa's Cookie Workshop. We expect about 100 children will decorate cookies. The Holiday Street Festival is coming up December 7th, and there's been 1 hour added to it, so it's 2 till 7. This will be the annual lighting of the Christmas tree on Front Beach, as well as more carnival rides, photo booths, bands have been booked. Administrator Tucker reported that the fire department has done their safety assessments of the area, and the building and public works departments are ordering the corrections to be made to trip hazards and other items. You think an event like this just happens, but it takes the work of the entire city to get it to fruition. Old business, we have sent out the RFB for the ball field fencing, published in the Post-Courier on November 3rd. And bids will be scheduled to be open December 10th, with the contract award expected in January 2014. The work should be done by March 2014. Our next meeting is January 13th, 4 p.m.
Record time. Thank you. Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Personnel Committee met at 9 o'clock Monday, November 4th. And the majority of the meeting, actually the whole meeting, was devoted to further analysis on the regional fire department and salary benefit comparisons, which we've spent a lot of time on already today. The other item that was covered was the floating holiday. Councilman Batelli moved to name Friday, December 26th, 2014 as the floating holiday. Our next meeting will be held on Thursday, January 9th in the conference room. The Personnel Committee October Safety Sweepstakes winners are Recreation Department Nick Bacco, Public Works Charles Williams, Police Department Fred Fitzpatrick, and Fire Department Jason Smith. And I think I said our next meeting is, no I didn't. Next meeting is going to be
January 9th.
Thursday, January 9th in the conference room.
Okay, thank you. Do we need to confirm by action of council? Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion that Friday, December 26, 2014 be the floating holiday for the city. Okay. Did I hear a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, second. Any other discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Very good. Nothing else for personnel? Real Property Committee, please.
Real Property met Monday, November 4th, and convened. First came up old business, consideration of a focused erosion project during winter 2014. The conditions were discussed with Stephen Trainum. You've just heard in this meeting an update of that. We asked that he bring that to you so that you are informed of the current conditions. Apparently, per the stakeholders at the erosion site currently, they are not requesting additional help at this time. So we have decided not to move forward with scraping. Then we had an update on repairs to piling and the finger pier that were inadvertently knocked down and damaged with a boat. I believe that 3 contractors bid, and the staff were reevaluating those contracts, and I would ask Administrator Tucker for an update.
Yes,
on
we
that.
have awarded the work to R.L. Morrison, and is that right? Yeah. All of a sudden, it's getting late. And they should be mobilized by Friday. They've already ordered materials, and we should begin to see some activity out there in the next week.
Great. Fully covered by insurance by the vote on it.
Correct.
We had a review of the revised engineering scope of work related to rehabilitation of Tidewater water sports dock. Hello. And we discussed that this evening and have moved forward with John Schaefer's recommendation of putting together the scope of work to repair and bring the dock up to the safety standards that they deem necessary, as well as we have voted in Ways and Means to allocate $7,250 towards the future of the marina plans. Yep.
Next meeting?
And we voted on that a few minutes ago. New business, consideration of 18th Avenue access improvements. This has to do with the mayor, Carmen R. Bunch Park, and I would defer again to City Administrator Tucker for an update on that.
Yes. We have requested some assistance from Charleston County. You all will recall that we had access via 18th Avenue, but in order to meet the NPDES requirements associated with that, there had to be a ditch run alongside that road, which now impedes access from 18th. So we're going to work with Charleston County to try to get a driveway off of 18th into the property so that when we do mobilize in there, or anybody wants to go and enjoy the property, we'll have a way to get in without bumping through a ditch.
Thank you. There were no contracts in excess of $10,000. Miscellaneous business, we had a tenant rent report. All monthly rents were current. There is one tenant that was submitting their annual numbers, and there may be some money still due and outstanding on that one. We adjourned. Our next meeting is sometime in January. I don't have it in my notes. Calendar, please.
It's on the calendar.
You find it. It's not on your calendar, Sam?
January 9th.
January 9th.
I resemble her comment. Thank you.
All right. Seats on empty. You have in your possession the boards and commissions reports, Board of Zoning Appeals and Planning. I guess there's no, there was planning.
Question?
Any comments? Yes, please.
Actually, more of a comment. The Planning Commission made note that the traffic count data information was not accurate and the software was out of date. And I think that's important that we have good, clean data as far as the assessment is with tourism and parking and other things that we need. So I think the Public Safety Committee needs to look at getting this up and running before the start of season next year.
Mr. Mayor, we have I received, the Public Safety Committee received a letter from the Planning Commission, and that will be on our agenda.
Excellent.
How long has it been down?
It's kind of episodic. Chief Buchanan is the one that goes and collects the count. Notoriously, equipment like that can be fussy, and it gets fussier the more age it gets on it, and so it will be down. We don't really know that there's a problem with the count until we go to retrieve the count. So it's not like, unless you are checking it daily, which we do not do. But, Chief, I don't know if you want to add anything to the issue of the traffic counters.
You've got to stand up.
And now we're going to 10 o'clock.
I'll just give you an update. The traffic counters are 11, 12 years old. It's based on 14-year-old technology, and in the course of the regular budget process, that would be something I was going to ask for anyway in the upcoming budget, but I think the Planning Commission feels like that we should go ahead and take a look at it. But it is something that I maintain it, and it's hard to say that one time it's a battery issue, one time it's a motherboard issue, another time it's a tube issue. So I mean, it's a lot of things that go wrong with it, and they're out there 24/7 in a rough environment. So that's what it is.
We don't know how long it's been down, and therefore the data's unreliable.
I don't want to say the data is unreliable, but there are certain times that it is unreliable because it will come up with errors in it. Other times it's working just fine. It's just
It's a matter of the frequency in which he gets a chance to look at it, and then he'll know that it's either correct or incorrect. If it's incorrect, he can make some fix. But at least when it's collecting data, you might have a good month, and then a bad week, and then another good month. So you have to interpret some of that, too.
So it's unreliable.
It's unreliable.
That's correct.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Ryan.
During our discussion with our parking management and consultants, I had gone through and requested, not that it holds any weight, but to have real-time traffic counters. If Chief, you're our tech guy, if you see that while you're out there searching for this in our next budget cycle, the ability to use that real traffic count, then we would know immediately something's going on. We're not getting any counts or any traffic. We don't have anything that's going on. And I'd like to see what those costs are. So they're out there. We just need to utilize them.
Okay. Jimmy.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, with all the proposed road construction that's taking place on the connector, you would think SCDOT and Charleston County would have some kind of numbers.
Their numbers are less reliable.
The COG just sent out, Douglas is laughing over here, 'cause he knows what I did with it. The COG sent out data for the three-county area. And so we look at the data that the COG represents to be the Isle of Palms, which is 3 data points, basically. And you look at it, first of all, they sent out data that they said it was 2012, and it was actually 2010. And you go back and they said, oh, we sent you the wrong file. But anyhow, you get 2012 in the history. It's a maybe 1 week annualized, and it's all incorrect because it says the traffic since 2008 is 60% less than what it was prior. You say, well, is this seasonal? Do you take it in October or January? And they say, well, we don't take it. We defer to DOT to take it. And so, DOT is understaffed, and people aren't there, and they have no idea.
And they extrapolate, but when they don't have
yes. And they sent me this
Meaning
long.
they send somebody out for 1 hour on January 1st or 2nd, if he's sober, and they count for 1 hour, and then they multiply that times the hours in a year, and that's what the annual traffic is.
Well, they were actually here for a week, I think, but it's not far. It's not far different. It's not far different. And it's not indicative of what's happening on the island. And the problem is DOT uses that data for something. I don't know whether it's allocation of funding.
All of it.
I mean, and that's why the COG gets it, and COG then does their master plan, and you go, oh my God, this is incorrect by orders of magnitude. So
that was the reason why we put in our own counters when we did. It was one of the motivating factors of putting in those embedded in the ground traffic counters when we did. But they've just gotten exceedingly fussy.
So at least because the chief gives me data periodically, and there are some gaps, but in the most times, at least in the last couple of years, up until, I haven't got any this year, but it's been fairly accurate. You may miss, a couple of weeks in August, but you can look at last August and you can look at September and July and do some intellectual interpretation. But if we miss entire quarters, for instance, then we can't do anything with that. But so it is important, I think, for us to know what's going on and know what the traffic is. And if we can't get a real time, at least give us an indicator, red light, flag, not working or something.
Not to belabor this thing, but with Stantec, you would think that maybe they would have some kind of counters they could use with these numbers that they're going to be studying for parking and traffic, and you would think.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Just an idea. Thank you.
well, and by the way, when you sum up, you have to sum up the sum of the roads. If you look at what comes across the connector and then how much goes east and how much goes west, they don't add up. And you say, well, where did these cars go? You know, it's just not.
They're going to the old Piggly Wiggly's where they're going. Coming back.
It drives you crazy. Okay, good point. We've got that covered. Moving on. Bills already in our possession. Second reading of ordinance 2013-10. I'll read by title only. I'll ask for motion. Ordinance amending Title 5, Planning and Development, Chapter 4, Zoning, Article 1, General Provisions, Article 3, Landscaping and Trees, Removal Regulations, City of Alabama's Code of Ordinances to permit removal of hazardous trees causing structural damage or posing a clear and imminent threat of structural damage to permanent accessory structures that require a building permit. I'll move for second reading.
And waive
the reading of the full ordinance. Motion and seconded. Any discussion? None heard. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we have a new bill in our possession. This is first reading by title only, ordinance 2013-12, an ordinance authorizing the conveyance by quitclaim deed of a right, title, and interest, if any, that the City of Alapaus may have in the property identified as one half of the dead-end street previously known as 39th Ave to the estate of Robert and Ellen Berry and Ellen and Glass Berry. So I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
And second. I think you've read the details. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Move to adjourn.
Well, before you're there, our next meeting is shortly. It's Tuesday the 3rd. We're going to be dealing with committees, boards, and commissions, so hopefully...
Mayor, one last, everybody here has gotten an appraisal form for our administrator.
Okay.
And we'd like it filled out and in my box by December the 3rd.
All right.
A reminder. Thank you.
They're not done yet, but I'd like to acknowledge Sandy and Doug's time with us for the last 4 years. They've been dedicated, offered their time and talent to us without hesitation, and we've appreciated it. And stay close. That's all I'm going to say.
A little humor from Mr. Stone on occasion.
Every now and then. All right. Thank you all. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.